be honest, no, I didn't think that. I just wanted to play as many matches as possible. That's why, sometimes it's not the easiest playing qualis, but it helps you in the main draw.
As we celebrate our multicultural, and I tell you what, we have some good Filipino whānau in the building tonight, ladies and gentlemen.
What if I told you that the most powerful moment in professional tennis this year had absolutely nothing to do with a winner's trophy, a championship point, or a world ranking? What if the moment that broke the internet, moved millions of fans to tears, and rewrote the entire story of a 20-year-old girl from Manila happened in complete silence, away from the cameras, with no announcement, no press release, and no audience? Stick with me because by the time this story is over, you are going to understand something about this sport and about these two women that you simply cannot learn from a scoreboard. Let's start at the Australian Open. Melbourne in January. The Happy Slam, they call it, and if you have never experienced the Australian Open in person, that nickname might actually fool you into thinking it is a gentle, welcoming kind of tournament. It is not. The Southern Hemisphere summer is absolutely brutal. We are talking about temperatures that turn the hard court into something resembling a frying pan. Temperatures that physically melt the rubber off your shoes. Temperatures so punishing that tournament organizers have historically had to suspend play entirely, close stadium roofs, and hand out ice collars to athletes whose bodies are beginning to shut down. The world's best players survive this with the help of massive medical teams, physios, nutritionists, and full entourages whose only job is to keep one athlete functioning at peak performance. But there is another group of people out on that court who face the exact same blistering conditions with almost none of that support. And this is where our story actually begins. Ball kids. They are the invisible army of professional tennis. They sprint across the court. They crouch in the corners. They stand perfectly still like statues under direct sunlight, trained to be completely unnoticed, trained to suppress exhaustion, trained to serve the match flawlessly while the world pays attention to everyone else. On this particular afternoon, during a high-stakes match featuring the Philippines' most electric young talent, Alex Eala, one of those ball kids reached her absolute limit. The match was locked in a fierce, close, grinding battle. The crowd was completely absorbed. Eala was fully dialed in, fighting for every single point with that fierce, determined focus that has made her one of the most exciting young players on the entire tour. And then, out of nowhere, a young ball girl in the corner of the court began to sway. Her face had gone dangerously pale. Before anyone in the stadium could process what was happening, her knees buckled, and she collapsed, hitting the ground in a terrifying feint that sent a collective gasp through thousands of people. Now, here is the question you need to ask yourself right now. In one of the biggest matches of her career, with ranking points on the line and the entire nation of the Philippines watching, what does a typical professional tennis player do in that moment? The honest answer is they glance over, wait for the umpire to handle it, and use the interruption to towel off or catch their breath. Because that is the reality of elite professional sport. The stakes are too high. The focus is too precious. The competitive tunnel is too narrow for detours. But what Alex Eala did in the next 5 seconds is the reason we are talking about her right now. She did not hesitate for even a fraction of a second. She dropped her racket. She dropped her towel. She dropped every single thread of competitive focus she had spent years building, and she sprinted across that baking hard court faster than any tournament official, any medical staff member, anyone. She reached that young girl first, dropped to her knees on the scorching court surface, wrapped her arms around the terrified, semi-conscious child, and spoke to her directly, calmly, with a presence of mind that was almost impossible to believe given what was happening around her. The cameras captured the scene. The entire stadium fell into a stunned, almost reverent silence. And in that silence, the entire world got its first real look at who Alex Eala actually is beneath the baseline. She did not stop there. Realizing that the direct sunlight was the core problem, Eala took charge of the situation completely, shielding the girl, calling for help, and staying with her until she was properly cared for. It was the kind of instinctive, selfless response that you cannot coach, cannot perform, and cannot fake. Either it lives inside you or it does not. And clearly for Alex Eala, it does. Now hold on because this story has another layer, And this is the part that truly takes your breath away. Simultaneously happening at the Madrid Open, something much quieter was unfolding between Eala and one of the tour's most beloved veterans, Donna Vekic. For those unfamiliar with their dynamic, Vekic and Eala have developed one of the most warmly genuine friendships in professional tennis. The Croatian star, with over a decade of tour experience and a Grand Slam final appearance to her name, and the 20-year-old Filipino sensation are not an obvious pairing. And yet something clicked between them. Something real. And it has been quietly building into one of the sport's most heartwarming ongoing storylines. At Madrid, Vekic did something that the entire Philippines is still talking about. In the middle of an interview, with cameras rolling and the crowd listening, she joked that she might as well be a daughter of the Philippines herself given how close she and Alex have become. The joke landed instantly. The crowd responded with warmth and laughter. And within hours, the clip was spreading across Filipino social media with the kind of velocity that only happens when something genuinely touches a nerve. The Philippines, if you know anything about Filipino sports culture, does not do things halfway. When they love you completely. And when a woman from Croatia stands in front of a microphone and casually claims Filipino heritage with a grin, the Filipino internet responds like it is a national holiday. Memes went up. Edits went up. Pride flag emojis and heart emojis flooded every platform. Vekic was officially adopted. But here is where you need to slow down, because while everyone was celebrating the punchline, something else was happening that nobody had anticipated. Alex Eala gave Donna Vekic a gift. Let that land for a moment. Not a sponsor package. Not a PR gesture. Not a photo opportunity. A personal gift, offered quietly, one person to another, in the middle of a tournament where everything is already demanding every ounce of mental and emotional energy you have. Somewhere in a hallway, a practice corridor, or a locker room, Eala reached into what she had with her and handed Vekic something she had brought from the Philippines. No camera setup. No staging. No announcement of any kind. Just a simple act of genuine warmth from a 20-year-old who, despite carrying the enormous weight of an entire nation's hope on her shoulders, still had the presence of mind and the generosity of heart to think about someone she cared about. We do not know exactly what was inside that gift. And honestly, that ambiguity is part of what makes the story so deeply affecting. Whatever it was, it carried meaning. Whatever it was, it carried home. Whatever it was, it said something that words in any language would have struggled to say more clearly. When Vekic received it, witnesses described a shift in her expression that you could not manufacture on your best acting day. The lightness that had been there from the joke, the quick wit and the laughter, it did not disappear because something went wrong. It faded because something went unexpectedly, profoundly right. Her eyes stayed on that gift. There was a pause in her that felt significant, the kind of pause you see in someone who has just received something that went much deeper than they expected. Donna Vekic is not someone easily moved in public. Over a decade on tour, Grand Slam pressure, heartbreak at the highest level, she does not wear vulnerability lightly. And yet, a quiet gesture from a 20-year-old from Manila stopped her in her tracks. Think about what that tells you about the depth of what these two have built together. Because this is not a typical mentorship. This is not just a friendship, though it clearly is one. It is something closer to recognition. That specific bond that forms when two people see something in each other that has nothing to do with ranking or prize money or draw placement. They recognize each other as humans first, competitors second. And in that hallway, with that gift, Eala communicated something to Vekic that no press conference could ever capture. She said, in the language of gesture rather than words, I thought of you. I carried a piece of my world and I brought it here because I wanted you to have it. Now consider that from Alex's side for just a moment. She is 20 years old. She is navigating the full, enormous weight of being her country's brightest hope in a sport that has almost never had a Filipino presence at this level. The love from her nation is genuine and beautiful, but it is also immense, and an immense love carries its own quiet pressure. She is building a career in one of the most competitive, unforgiving professional environments on the planet. And in the middle of all of that, she thought about her friend. She made room for someone else. That is not a small thing. That is character on display in its purest form. the tennis world is beginning to understand something important. The story of Alex Eala is never going to be just about tennis. It is going to be about this. About how she moves through the tour with a warmth and a grace that draws people toward her instinctively. About how she represents something larger than herself without ever appearing to perform it. About how a young woman from the Philippines is quietly building something on the professional tour that goes far beyond rankings and trophies. She is building a legacy of humanity. And Donna Vekic, with one joke and one moment of visible, unguarded emotion, helped confirm for the world that this legacy is already real, already seen, and already respected in the very corridors of the tour itself. As Madrid continues to unfold and the clay season builds toward Roland Garros, scores will come and go. Rankings will shift. Headlines will be written and forgotten. But sitting just slightly outside the frame of all that competitive noise is something that already belongs to the permanent record. Two women from different corners of the world. A joke that accidentally became a truth. A gift that said everything words could not. And a friendship forged in the specific, beautiful crucible of professional sport that is proving week after week that the most important thing happening in tennis right now is not always visible on the scoreboard. Sometimes it happens in a quiet hallway, without cameras, without crowds, without any audience at all. And somehow, it still changes everything. That is the story of the two daughters of the Philippines. And that is exactly why this game will never stop being worth watching.